Hello and welcome back to another episode of BlissScape Developer Commentary. This episode is going to be kind of like a half episode. I didn't actually have any time to play this week, but I didn't want to skip another week. So I'm just going to be doing the questions here while I'm woodcutting, just so I can keep the momentum going a little bit. Oh, and congrats on the pet. Obviously this isn't pre-recorded footage. I figured if I just chop wood, I'll be fine here. I've been working on the BlissScape, old school BlissScape server, as well as the 718 server this week, and I've been really trying to push the old school server forward because I have a goal to get that in open beta before the end of the year. So that's been taking up a ton of my time, but that's just for right now while I'm kind of moving over this hurdle of getting it ready. So normal videos will be coming back very shortly. So last episode, someone did leave a bunch of questions all in one, and then just a couple more. So we got quite a few questions to answer, so I figured I'd answer a few extra here since we have the time. So, first question. After coding the server for over 4 years, what has been the biggest obstacle? That's a really hard question to answer, because I've definitely dealt with a lot of obstacles to get it going. The hardest part, in the beginning at least, was just figuring out how everything works, because I had never used Java before when I started working on the server. So, having to download all the sources and just look at the code and not have any idea what any of it means. Even with the little programming knowledge that I did have, I could kind of parse it a little bit, but basically it's really hard to figure out how everything works. There's so much in the game, and to jump in with basically no knowledge of it, seeing all these files and all these different classes and figuring out how they all work together was definitely really difficult. But once you make that first step over that first hurdle, everything gets a lot easier. And now I know the server like the back of my hand, especially because I've rewritten most of it myself anyway. Other than that first hurdle, though, I'd say the other biggest obstacle is the cache, which basically for the same reason. Unlike the server code, which at least I can read, the cache is so packed in the 718 version. It's really hard to edit because you can't really see it. You kind of just have to know how to edit it without actually being able to see it. So editing that was really difficult, and that's something that I'm still trying to work on and get better at. But as of late, I've been making a lot of big strides with what I can do in the cache, and it's pretty exciting. So definitely, that's basically the biggest hurdles, is just figuring out how stuff works, because in a game like this, or a system like this, a lot of stuff is community written, and jagex is actively trying to not release this information. So finding out that information is definitely a big hurdle, but it can be a lot of fun, and it's what makes making the private servers a lot of fun, and frustrating sometimes when you've been banging your head against a wall for a couple days trying to do something and you just can't figure out how it works, which is what I've been doing recently with the old school server. But I've made it over that hurdle now, so that's been that feeling of getting over that hurdle and making progress in something that you've been working on for hours and hours and hours. It really is a good feeling. So I think that is what makes it so fun. Okay, so now we got like a bunch of questions this guy left. I'm going to go ahead and answer some of the ones that stick out to me here. So the first question is, would you hire someone new to do a job that you see to be critical? Example, patch notes, YouTube videos, designing textures, web development, bug testing, or others. I know some staff do these now, or maybe all. So for some reason, I'm not very good at working with other people, and it's my fault. I have this feeling that when I'm working with someone else, I just want to do it myself. I'm a very DIY kind of guy, so I've tried to have people help out with other stuff in the past. Obviously, no one's ever going to be helping out with the server code, because in order to do that, I would have to share the server code with them, and there's no way I'm going to do that. It's just not worth the risk, basically, because if they steal the code, then that's like years and years of my life's work that they would just steal. So that's definitely something. There's no way I would trust literally anybody with that information, no matter how long I knew them. So that's definitely a big no. YouTube videos, I've talked to people in the past, but no one seems to be very receptive about it. I like even like I'm like, hey, how much do you charge? And they're like, oh, I charge this much for a YouTube video, and I'm like, okay, well, let's move forward with this, and then they kind of just ghost me. Like, I don't know, I haven't really been able to actually successfully get a YouTube video, even though I've looked, and people have come to me asking like, hey, can I make a YouTube video for you? And then I say, yes, what's your channel? And they send me the channel, and then I'm like, okay, can you send me a message on that channel? To prove that it's you, and they never do. So people are just trying to scam, I'm assuming. But yeah, that's never really been able to work out. And I think that like when I'm buying a YouTube video like that, I'm not buying for someone to make a nice YouTube video about the server. I'm buying advertisement basically. So I'm not expecting too much, which is kind of why I ended up just doing this YouTube video myself, is to get the server on the YouTube scene so people will see it without having to just have everyone make an ad for the server. And then honestly, the stuff that the servers, the videos that people make just for fun, those are the really good videos, and you can't really buy that. Designing textures, there's really not too many textures that I actually have to design because most of the stuff is just already in the game. And I've got a digital media degree, so it's just easier for me to do that myself. Honestly, there are very few times I do need to do any texture work or design work for like icons or stuff for the website. It's just so much easier for me to just do it myself. It's like it would take more time to actually talk to someone to do it than just doing it myself, because usually they're pretty simple and it's pretty quick. One thing that I definitely might outsource is web development. I'm not very good at web development. I'm getting better, but that's kind of the reason I'm using Engine, which I basically you can consider that outsourcing, because it's just a lot easier to set it up through that than having to code it all yourself. And I think that the end result's much better than anything that I could do, or anything that most people could do, to be honest, even if I did hire somebody. I think that we have one of the best RuneScape private server websites. So many other servers, they've got really, really janky websites, and I didn't want that. Bug testing is something that I think, like, I don't think it actually needs to, I need to hire someone for it, because so many people are so passionate about the game. They want to bug test because they enjoy the game, and bug testing can be fun. So no, staff does bug testing, and now we got the subscriber server, people doing bug testing, so I don't think that that's something that I need to be outsourcing, because people want to do it. So okay, so next is an interesting question that I get every now and then, is has Bliss ever been threatened to be shut down? I'm assuming by jagex. No. I don't think that jagex actually cares too much about RuneScape private servers anymore. They cared a lot more back in the day, but I feel like at least with RuneScape 3, that game is so different than this game. There's like, I'm not taking people from RuneScape 3. Most people that play this aren't going to play RuneScape 3 anyway. And honestly, RuneScape 3 has become such cash grabby that I don't think they actually will spend the time and money that it would take to actually threaten someone down. With the lawyers and everything, they're kind of just letting it generate cash, and like at least the people that would care, who are the investors and everything, they don't care because they just see it as free money basically. So I don't think that jagex has actually gone after a private server in many years. I think that they may have gone after some of the really big ones that had like thousands of players back in the day, but they just don't do that anymore. So I don't think that I have to worry, even with the old school server. And you know, jagex, the one thing that they did respond to was that big old school server before old school RuneScape came out that said we're recreating old school RuneScape, and they responded by coming out with their own basically private server of old school RuneScape. So I don't think that jagex takes the time to actually shut anyone down or even attempt to. So I've never gotten anything about it. Some people have said they've gotten letters, but no one's actually ever shown anything. So I don't think that jagex cares, honestly, at this point. Especially with the servers being so different now, they're not really taking too much of the market value. So the next question is, would you ever add a custom skill? I know it's a lot of work, but would it be worth it? No, I don't think I'll ever add a custom skill to this game. It's not a custom server, yeah. So any custom skill would just feel off compared to all the other ones. So I don't think that a custom skill would be something that I'd work on, especially because, like I said, with the cache being so difficult to work on, adding in any features like that would just be kind of messy. And most servers that I've seen that have custom skills, they're pretty much just like kind of like little mini games or something that you can train through, or it's something silly like that. It doesn't really feel like an actual skill. So I wouldn't. Oops, I want to go to Sears Village. I wouldn't want to do something like that. You know, I have a pretty high standard of the content that I want to add to the server, and I don't think that I could get any custom skill up to the level of that standard. Are you planning on adding anything to any existing skills, similar to how you recently added to Hunter? Yes, absolutely. That's one goal that I've kind of had for this 2020 year, was to expand the content of each skill. Not every skill needs it, but I've added agility courses, I've added the extra stuff for Hunter, I added Puro, I added Pyramid Plunder, and I'm just going to continue. I've added more farming patches. So I'm gonna continue just adding and expanding more on, because most of the skills, they're all pretty much working to a good degree, but if I want to improve them, all I have to do is just add more content. So I definitely will. You should expect to see some more expanded skilling content in the future. And you know, sometimes they're going to need to be adjusted a little bit, like Hunter, because Grenwalls were so overpowered that anything that I added would not be as good as Grenwalls. So it kind of defeated the purpose. That's why I needed to add the bait system for Grenwalls, so that way, and then double their experience, so that way they are an extremely fast method of getting experience, assuming you have the bait for them. So it's something that you can save up for double XP, so it's always fun to have content like that where you can kind of do a lot of prep work for it. So some stuff is going to have to be shifted around like that, but I think that the end result is going to be a lot smoother, so that way you don't just do chins until you do Grenwalls and then do Grenwalls forever. Now there's options, which is the main goal, actually. So the next question is, why did you consider the home place that you did? That's a interesting question, because for some reason, for me in my head, Edgeville has always been the home of RuneScape for me. It's my default position. I'm like always in Edgeville if I don't know what to do. I trained all my banking skills in Edgeville. I talked to I met a lot of my friends in Edgeville. Edgeville was just like this hub, this home area for me, and a lot of other members of the community as well, because a lot of private servers use Edgeville as the home, and the private servers that I would play on when I was a kid, they all had Edgeville as the home. So honestly, it's just nostalgia, which is really what I was going for with the server. I feel like a lot of other players on the server also feel the same way, how Edgeville has always felt like a home area. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to really keep with the feel of a nostalgic RuneScape private server and a nostalgic RuneScape experience. Have you ever had the server go down for an extended period of time that was unexpected? If so, for what reason? So I'm sure most of you know that the server has incredible uptime. We're pretty much 100% up. Very few times does the server actually go down. So much so that every time it does, people ask for a double XP weekend because it's so rare. So there's been a couple times with the server. The longest time the server's ever been gone down since I've released it was pretty early on. It was before I had it hosted on a virtual private server. I was still hosting off my home computer, which is fine because my computer, it's a strong computer and it could handle it no problem. And the server, I never had to restart my computer; it was up all the time, so it never went down because of that. But it did go down when a hurricane hit my area. It wasn't a super bad hurricane, but it was bad enough to knock out the power for a couple days, so the server was out for a couple days. But that was not necessarily unexpected. That was pretty much expected. I was like, hey guys, you know, this hurricane is headed straight for me. We're probably going to lose power and the server's going to go down. And everyone was very understanding, and people were making sure that I was okay and everything. Thankfully, I still had my phone, so I could keep them updated on when the power was going to come back. And as soon as it did, the server went back up. So that's the longest the server had ever gone down. And I think it was just over 2 days. I was out of power, and then I got to put it up the next day. So it wasn't too bad. Where am I going here? Other than that, the server's really only been ever going down for a couple hours because of a bug or a bug abuse or something like that. Usually it's something dumb like a null error that's just frozen the server while I'm sleeping, and I can't fix it right away. That's always the worst part when it happens like right when I'm sleeping. That's actually why I moved the daily restart while it used to be at 4 a.m. because that was a time that usually the fewest amount of people were on. But I was always sleeping at 4 a.m., so I actually moved it to 10 a.m. so that way still not too many people are on. The large group of people hasn't come on playing for the day, but it's much closer to when I wake up. So if there is a problem, I can fix it right away. And if I'm not awake, my wife Alyssa is at least awake, so she can see it and wake me up and let me come fix it. Usually, that hasn't happened for a while though. But usually that's just like a quick bug that I missed I missed an equal sign or as a negative value or something like that, and I didn't catch it, and then it just froze the server. Ooh, sweet. That's actually nice. I don't want the flax. There's a bird's egg in there. We need that for comp eventually. Search that. Hatch that bird. All right. Put him down. And yeah, so that's a good achievement. Some people spend a lot of time trying to get that achievement, so it was good for me to get that quickly. Anyway. So yeah, usually it's just a bug like that. So every now and then it'll be a bug abuser or something like that they've figured out a way to break the server somehow and they're doing it on purpose. And then that's a lot harder to fix because I need to figure out what they're doing and then fix it. It's a lot harder to fix that than just a little bug. But even then, usually it's only for a few hours. And then the longest times are, when damage has been done to the server, like a dupe or something that I have to go in and reverse. So then the server is going to be down for 4 or 5 hours while I go in and make sure all the duped items are removed. But other than that, the server's been up just fine. The VPS that I have is super reliable. It's almost, I think it's had one outage in the last 4 years. And it's actually a funny story. I went to a bottomless mimosa brunch and had way too many mimosas, which were basically just champagne by the end of it. So I was really, really drunk just at like 2 p.m. or something by the time we were done. And all of a sudden I'm getting messages that the server has just stopped working. And that had never happened before for no reason. So I was like super concerned. I was like, in my head, I was like, well, I must have done something wrong. I must fix it. But obviously I'm drunk. I'm trying to log into the server. I can't even see the keyword. And it turns out that just OVH, the source, the virtual private server host that I use, just happened to have an outage for the first time ever while I was drunk. So it was pretty funny, and it ended up not being that fun of a time for me, but it was funny after the fact. Alright, so we'll do one more question here. Have you considered revamping any locations such as Lembridge or any others? Probably not too much. Like Edgeville, I've added a bunch of stuff to it because it's the home area, but I don't think that I'd really revamp a location too much other than just maybe like adding maybe a couple objects that are needed. Because again, it just comes back to the feel of the server. I want the server to feel like RuneScape. So the more I deviate away from that, the harder it will be to keep that feel. So usually I'm going to add something, to a new area or create a new area. Like, with the noxious demon, I put that in a cave. So it wasn't, it has its own area. I wasn't, modifying an existing area, even though it's just the King Black Dragon arena that's instanced. But yeah, so that I'll do stuff like that, add things on top of areas, but I'm never gonna really change the area itself. So yeah, that's gonna do it for the questions this episode, which is really all we're gonna do this episode. Basically, just do a quick recap here. Just have to do crafting. I suppose that's one of the things we could have done this episode, is actually craft up some of those flasks. I can't remember if I can actually craft those yet. I don't think that I can. Let's take a look. I can't for the life of me remember what level it is. Unless it's in the 70s. I'm pretty sure it's like 83. Let's see. Oh, 89. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to have to do some crafting. Although I did get a tip that I completely forgot about in the Keldagrim shop here. there are there's a bunch of molten glass for construction, which actually you can craft into pretty much anything here. We can go like unpowered orbs, and then that's going to give us basically free crafting experience. So we could probably do this to level 89 here. Shouldn't take too long because I could just empty these, honestly, and it's not even going to be that expensive. So we can do that to get to 89, and then should be easy to 99. And I think I still got quite a few pure essence left to get rune crafting up. I might try and do some at double X speed this weekend, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get on too much this weekend. It's actually my birthday on Sunday, so I'll be pretty much busy most of the weekend. I'm probably actually going to work this weekend as well, because I really want to push the old school server out as soon as possible. And what I'm working on is actually really exciting. Not really ready to go into any detail yet, but that's going to be coming out soon. Also, the Halloween event is coming out in the next update, so be ready for that. But until then, I'm going to end this episode. Thank you again for those questions. They were great. And remember to leave your questions for next time. So see you guys later.